Today's video is presented to you by the EA Creator Network. Special thanks to EA for allowing me to capture early footage of College Football 25, and if you're looking for more exclusive College Football 25 videos, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also remember, everything that you're about to see in this video is still a work in progress. Enjoy the video. Yo! What's going on, everybody out there? This is Popular Stranger, and we are back at you again today with another College Football 25 video. In today's video, we got 25 gameplay tips for all of you beginners out there that'll help you get you started for your College 25 football season. We got a lot to go over, so let's go ahead and jump right onto it. I'll probably kind of be jumping all over the place. I'll try to keep it in order the best that I can, but we're going to start at the settings menu, which you can find on your home screen. You just have to tab over a couple times, and primarily we're going to focus on the game settings section. So we start with the playbooks. By default, outside of the Ultimate Team game mode, anytime you load into a Play Now game, a Dynasty game, you're going to end up with the team-specific playbook. So if you pick Alabama, you're going to have the Alabama playbook. Now, you might prefer a different school's playbook, but want to use Alabama as your team, or you want to use various teams and try a bunch of teams out, but you're comfortable with a playbook. Well, in this section under game options, you can select the very specific team playbook, and this will carry with you no matter what team you use across any game mode outside of Ultimate Team. You can also go back to the main menu under the Create and Share tab and down to Custom Playbooks. Not only can you create your own playbook here, but it's a great tool to go through and look at every single team in the game and what playbooks and formations and plays they have. So if we select East Carolina randomly, we can now go in and see all of their formations and all of the plays and everything that's available there. So if you're unsure of what playbook you want to start out with, best bet is to go into some games and actually try them out. But if you get a good example, or if you have a good idea of what you want to run based on just the play art alone, this is how you can go through each team and take a look at your preferences. On this same screen, you can also change the difficulty against the CPU. Heisman will be the most difficult setting, and then going backwards, you have All-American, Varsity, Freshman, and back to Heisman. Now, not only can you set a base difficulty level, but you can tab over on the same setting screen to the CPU skill, and you can adjust certain sliders. So if you want to keep it on the hardest difficulty, but change the computer's QB accuracy, whether up or down, you can adjust all of these sliders, and you can scroll through and see all of the various options that you have. In College Football 25, there are 4 different passing settings, and it's up to you on which one you're most comfortable with. With Madden 23 and Madden 24, they introduce freeform style passing, and that's the setting that I'm comfortable with, in which I'm going with the placement and accuracy, and you have a couple other sub options under that you can toy around with. Again, I want to stress, use what's most comfortable with you and not what everybody else is doing. Try them all out. Classic passing is the most basic, so if you're coming back to football games for the first time in a long time, you might want to give that one a try. And by the way, on the right-hand side, you can see the description of each individual setting. Revamp passing is the new passing system introduced into College Football 25, and it's somewhat a combination of both classic passing, but with a little twist on it. Not only can you control the arc of the football depending on how hard or soft you press the button, but with your left analog stick, you can somewhat control the direction or area in which you throw the football. And then finally, we have placement passing. You dictate the placement and power on these passes, but the accuracy is going to be left up to ratings. Again, go into practice mode and try the different ones out to see what you're comfortable with. Next to game options, and there's more you can go through in there that I didn't cover in this video, you have your crossplay setting. This is where you can go to turn crossplay on or off. By default, it's going to start on, which allows you to play if you're on PlayStation with Xbox users, and if you're on Xbox, it's going to allow you to play with PlayStation users. If you have connectivity issues, or you just simply want to stay on the same console as your opponents, you're going to want to go ahead and turn this off. Back to the main menu, and next to settings, you can go to the More section to look at all of the abilities in the game. There are 100 players that EA dictated to have abilities to start out the year, and as the year goes on, that list of 100 100 players will change, but also in Ultimate Team, you have the option to put abilities on certain players depending on their archetype, but this is the screen or the place that you can look through and see every single ability in the game and what they do. There's also a bronze, silver, gold, and platinum tier to each individual ability. So one player may have the wrap-up ability, but it's bronze, where you're going to get slight protection from broken tackles on standard tackles, but you might have another player that's higher in overall, that's more skilled, that has a different archetype, and they may have the wrap-up platinum, which is going to give you ultimate protection from broken tackles, fake outs on standard tackles as well. So scroll through this entire list. If you have any questions on abilities, this is a great place to find all that information. Anytime you're in your main menu, you can hit the start button on your controller to bring up your profile settings, and you'll see a lot of things that we've already looked at on this screen as well, but one of them is custom celebrations, and there are a ton of them. You have 28 different options, and as you scroll through them, you're going to see the different button combinations that you have to press to trigger them. The first big section of them, these are all after you score a touchdown. You have first down celebrations, and then you have after the interception celebrations. These can all be done by going through this menu and looking at the button combinations. So now let's get to some gameplay tips that take place on the actual football field, and I encourage all of you, if you're a beginner, to jump into practice mode to test a lot of these things out before you test the online waters or go up against the CPU. Now, you can get to your standard practice mode under the training tab from your main menu. This will allow you to pick any one of the college football teams that are in the game, and you can do the same thing in the ultimate team game mode, but with your ultimate team, if you have them constructed. From the play menu within ultimate team, you're going to go all the way to the bottom right, and you can see practice mode is available there. One feature that can be really frustrating is the toggle camera, which I'm going to recommend turning off, and I'll show you how to do that. When you're setting up defensive adjustments, sometimes you do need to press your up and down button on your D-pad, and also that will toggle the camera. So as you can see, when we're on defense, when I'm pressing up and down on the D-pad, it basically changes the view of the game, and if you find yourself doing this right before the ball is snapped, it can distract you terribly. So what I would recommend is going back over to your settings option from the main menu, and if you go to the visual feedback tab, you're going to go all the way down to cameras and turn camera toggle off. Every time you load into a game, you're going to have access to coach adjustments on both offense and defense. So you can access these by pressing in on the right analog stick. On PlayStation, it's going to be R3, and here's what it's going to look like on offense. We will likely be dropping a video at some point early in the year on the specifics of coach adjustments, but for now, you can scroll through them and take a look at the various options that you have. Sometimes it's best to just leave them alone, but if you do have a specific play style, especially on defense, these are things that you might find yourself adjusting every single game. Zone drops are definitely the most common that people touch every game because you can essentially dictate the length in yards in which your defenders drop back when they're in a zone coverage. When you're on either offense or defense, you can see the play art of the play before you snap the ball by holding down your R2 button or right trigger on Xbox. Now, because I'm in a setting that has two controllers on the same screen, we're going to have to press up on our right analog stick to see our defensive play art, but when you're playing an online game or a game against the computer, all you're going to have to do is hold down R2 or right trigger, I'm sorry. The same thing will apply when you're on the offensive side of the ball. We hold down R2. Again, in this case, we're going to have to hold up on the right analog stick, but we can see the play art of the play that we're attempting to run. Holding down L2 or left trigger is going to allow you to access the coach cam, and there's a ton of different things that you can view from these menus within the game. If you look to your bottom right, there's 4 options: composure, matchups, wear and tear, and blocking. You're going to maneuver your analog stick, your right analog stick, to view those different things so you can see the composure of all the players on your offense. This will more so come into play when you're in a game and the crowd is actually having an impact. You have matchups in which you can see what situations might be favorable to you. You have the wear and tear system, which we're going to talk about in more detail in a separate video, but essentially your players' attributes can be adjusted in game based on the number of hits they may take, and that could make a player play worse as the game goes on. And then finally, with the right analog stick, you have the blocking feature, so you can see which offensive lineman is responsible for blocking which player. Now with your left analog stick, you can see the different abilities that each player has, and you're just going to move your left analog stick while still holding down L2 or left trigger and selecting each individual positional group, and you can see the various abilities that each player may have. This is something we'll talk about in more detail, but there are physical abilities and mental abilities, no X factors in College Football 25. When you're on defense, you have those same capabilities. You can see the abilities by toggling with your left analog stick here and just going through each positional group. And while still holding down L2 or left trigger, you can check the composure, the matchups, the wear and tear, and your defensive line assignments. I know it's a little annoying with the pre-play graphic being in the way of some of this stuff. That's because I'm on 2 controllers right now. That won't be there when you're playing an online game or against the computer. One really exciting feature on defense is the switch stick, and it's also going to be in Madden 25. Now, this is going to take a lot of skill to master, but I'm going to give you the basic concept of it. You are able to switch to another defender during the middle of the play, primarily in a passing play, and yes, there are other buttons you can use to switch players, but I think this one's going to add more of a skill gap to the game, and you're going to be able to get a lot more user interceptions with it. So notice how I'm on Lawson right here. When I snap the ball, and I'm using 2 controllers, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to mimic it. If I press left on my right analog stick, we should be able to switch over to Smith in the middle of the play. If I press right on the right analog stick, we should be able to switch over to Morgan here. So I'm going to snap the ball. I'm going to push my right analog stick over to the right, and you're going to see how I now take over Morgan. And if I press it to the right again, now I'm on Jackson, who was in that far right corner. I'll do the same thing to the opposite side of the field here. So we press left, we're on Smith, now we're on Brown, and now we can press down, we're back on Smith. So it's a good way to fool the person on offense and potentially get interceptions when they think that a CPU player is going to be there, and you get to take over and interact with some user skill. Also on defense, you're going to have access to a ton of different quick adjustments. We're going to drop a dedicated video on all of them and what they do, but to access the quick adjustment menu, you're simply just going to hit triangle on PlayStation or Y on Xbox. That's going to pull up the menu, and this gives you, like I said, tons of different options. Hitting triangle or Y again allows you to quick adjust a specific player by selecting that player's icon. You can shade your coverage. If you think your opponent's going up top, you would shade them over top by pressing up on the right analog stick. Corner routes outside, post routes, slants inside. Like I said, a ton of different things to go over more specifically, but that's how you access the coverage adjustments on defense. If we look at our current play art, you can see both of the defensive ends, or the guys on the edge of the defensive line right now, are going to be rushing after the passer. If you want to put them into a contain, which is primarily going to be used to slow down a running quarterback, which will be very powerful in this game, you're just going to tap R1 or right bumper on your controller 2 times. And now if we take a look at the play art, you can see that they are in a contain. Another tool to slow down a mobile quarterback is when selected on a player, and you can do this through quick adjustments as well, but when selected on a player, you can press X on PlayStation or A on Xbox. That's going to bring up a menu for that specific player, and if you push your right analog stick to the left, that's going to put them in a QB spy. You can see it's like an orange circle. This will keep them spying on the quarterback throughout the entire play, assuming that you're not using that player. There is no more base align in College Football 25 or Madden 25, and what they added instead is a coverage shell, which is a great way to disguise the actual defense that you're in. So we're going to select the 4-2-5 formation, and if you look towards the kind of middle of your screen, pushing your right analog stick left or right is going to allow you to toggle between all of these options. You have a cover 4 shell, cover 3, cover 2, 2-man under, and then a cover 0. So again, it's a way to disguise what you're running. If I go to a cover 3 shell here, but we're going to select the play cover 2-man under, you're going to notice when we come out on the actual field, that our formation mimics what normally a cover 3 would look like, where instead one of those safeties being up high already, he's going to drop back, but this would appear like a cover 3 defense where our opponent might try to attack the seams, and being that we're in a man coverage, assuming these players don't get outran due to speed differences, they should kind of trick them or trick your opponent. So there's a lot of different ways you can play around with these, and I'm sure certain metas will be formed on certain defenses and different coverage shells with different play calls, but I think it's a really nice addition to College Football 25. Now let's talk offense. We're going to start with hot routes. These are going to allow you to change the routes on any given play, any given pass play, for any receiver that's on your team. So if you're in a pass play, you can simply press triangle on PlayStation or Y on Xbox. That's going to pull up the select a receiver screen towards the bottom right. You're going to select whatever receiver that you want to change their route. We'll go ahead and pick Jay George over here, our circle receiver on the right of screen. And here is the hot route menu. Now they added in 4 additional options for hot routes. Prior to this, in Madden, you needed an ability called Hot Route Master. You now have the option, and it depends on where the receiver's lined up. A running back's going to have different options. A slot receiver's going to have different options. A tight end's going to have different options. Outside receivers tend to have the same options, but you essentially have 14 different routes that you can select from this screen to do on any pass play. We're going to go ahead and push up on our right analog stick to select a post. And now if we take a look at the play art, you can see that George is running a post route when initially I think he was running a streak. Custom stems is another new feature that was added in that can take those types of routes one step further. And I've already recorded a video breaking this down in more detail, but we would do the same start to our button pressing by hitting Y or triangle on PlayStation to select the receiver. We're going to hit circle to select that specific receiver. And instead of selecting a hot route, we're going to hold down L1, which is our custom stem button, and now by using our D-pad buttons either up or down, we can adjust the length of where this post breaks at. You can't do this on every single route in the game, but you can do it on a lot of them. And as you can see, if you're in a 3rd and long situation, it can allow you to design up some plays that will help you get that first down by using these custom stems. If you're at the line of scrimmage and you want to change the play that you're running, you can hit square on PlayStation or X on Xbox to bring up the audible menu. This is the current formation that we're in, and we have basically 4 options to choose from, which these can be adjusted to your liking. We're just going to go with the default ones by now. So if I wanted to switch to a run play, I'd press select on press triangle on PlayStation, Y on Xbox, and we're now going to go from a passing play to that halfback counter. And in some situations, you can toggle between your left and right D-pad buttons and go through different formations, and you can see these changing. So now we're going to go over to gun, ace, offset, and we have a different set of 4 audibles that we can go. So if I switch over to Z-spot, we're now going to an entirely different formation and setting up a pass play. And again, within this, we can go ahead and select our circle receiver, and we can put him on a post just like we did in the last example, and we can change his custom stem. You have a ton of different options that you can dictate with your offensive line, or remember our coach cam that we talked about earlier in the video. By holding down L2 and then pushing our right analog stick to the left, we can see the blocking assignments for those players. Well, hitting L1 on a PlayStation controller or left bumper on an Xbox controller is going to bring up your pass protection menu. So if you want to slide your entire line to the right, you're going to press right on your left analog stick. And as you can see, that graphic is going to give you an idea of who is blocking who. You can do the same thing the opposite way if we want a full slide over to the left, but it's going to show you that one player or even the middle linebacker is now going to be unblocked. You have the base option and the empty option, and all of these will show you who's supposed to be blocking who. Your right analog stick gives you additional options. You have a half slide to the right, a half slide to the left. You have max protection. And then if you ever want to double team a player, you're going to press down on your right analog stick, and that plus indicator is going to select the player that is being double teamed. Now to select a different player to double team, you're going to move your left analog stick to the left or the right to go ahead and select one of those players. And again, that plus indicator is going to select who gets double teamed. One other option you have in this menu is IDing the mic, and this is usually to select who is the center of the defense. And a lot of times you're going to be using this to pick up certain blitzes that people find in the game. So to ID the mic, you're going to press X on PlayStation or A on Xbox, and then using your left analog stick, you're going to maneuver around either up, down, left, or right. And as you can see, just like the double team, the M is the indicator of which player is going to be ID'd. If you ever come out in a run play and it appears that your opponent's defense is overloaded to the side that you're going to be running, you can simply use your right analog stick and push it in the opposite direction to quickly flip that running play to the opposite side. So as you can see in this example, we're running a stretch to the right, but a lot of that defense is over on the right-hand side. We're going to push our right analog stick to the left, and now you can see our run is quickly flipped to the left side where the defense isn't as strong, and we can quickly snap that ball and likely pick up some big yardage. If you ever want to utilize a pump fake in the passing game, you're simply going to double tap the button of the receiver that you want to do that pump fake towards. It's not always guaranteed to work, but it is something that may help you hit a big play downfield occasionally. So we're going to double tap square, which is our receiver over on the left of screen, and you'll see that we're going to simply pump fake the ball to him here, and then we can throw it after or throw it to a different receiver if you want to. It wouldn't be a college football game without a ton of trick plays and options. Let's talk about how you run options, specifically read options and triple options. If you just simply snap the football and do nothing else, the running back is always going to keep it. And in a read option, you have either that choice or for the quarterback to keep the ball. In order to keep it, you're going to have to hold down that snap button. So once I press X or A on Xbox, instead of just doing nothing, we're going to hold on to it. That will then allow us to keep the quarterback with the ball. A triple option is going to be the same, but with a little bit more detail. So again, just simply snapping the ball and doing nothing else after that snap. The running back is going to keep the possession of the football, and you're going to run with him. If we hold down that same snap button, the quarterback's going to keep it like they did on a read option, but now you have a trailing defender here, or trailing offensive player that you can pitch to if you want. You don't have to. In that example, obviously, we didn't. And if you did want to execute any type of pitch option or triple option, you're going to hit your L1 button to send off that pitch. It's going to be L1 on PlayStation. That'll be left bumper on Xbox, and that's going to give you the quick pitch option. And if you have any other questions on what certain buttons do, whether it's pre-play or in the play, passing, running, you can always go to your pause menu and check out the controls section. This is also in the main menu. You can see your offense and defense. You can see ball carrier, passing, pre-play, ball in air. So this is something to just kind of pay attention to of all the different options that you have. So there are 25, maybe even 26 if we count this one, different gameplay tips for all you beginners out there in college football 25. If the video helped you out, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that thumbs up button. And thank you for watching. My name is Popular Stranger. I'm out. Peace.